Hey, everybody, this is Javier Valderamos. This is Planet Texas Podcast. We are here. We are going to talk about a movie called La Bamba. I don't know if you remember this or not, but La Bamba is a really good movie. I'm back with Terry Wilson. We're going to talk about a little bit of movies. Don't forget to support my boy, Atlanta Sports, Atlanta Movies. Give them the number one.
Hey man, let's get us all to number one. But Javi, thanks for having me again. Super excited about this movie, man. The last time I saw this movie prior to us reviewing it, I was like 16 years old, right? So, again, you look at the world totally different. But going back and watching this movie, and I'm sure we'll get into it, what a great film. What a great film. What a great origin story. And there are true moments in this film where I truly felt like just standing up and cheering, man. Great movie. So super excited to get into it, man. And again, thank you so much for having me. Obviously, you can see me at For My ATL Sports One on YouTube. We talk about Atlanta sports, whatever, basketball, football, Braves, Falcons, Hawks, whatever. And for my ATL movies, we talk about movies, obviously. But we're not here for me. We're here for La Bamba. So, hey, without further ado, Javi, let's get into it, man.
Of course, of course. Let's talk a little bit about Richie Valens. Who is actually Richie Valens and what is he? So his actual name is Richard Steven Venezuela. That's
Mm-hmm.
his actual name.
Mm-hmm.
But just like in the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s, you couldn't actually use your names. You had to change your names because you're musicians, actors, so forth. So that's where we got the name Richie Val.
Sheen's real name is it Carlos Estevez or what is what's Martin Sheen's real name?
I think it's
Uh,
just Esteban.
Esteban, right? Because I know his name is that basically Martin Sheen is Latino. And a lot of people would not know that. I didn't know that, but he had to unfortunately change his name because back then, to your point, if you were going to fit in or be considered normal, that's what you had to do. Um, but I do have a question for you, Javi.
Mhm.
Um, and again, it may be. I hope I'm okay with saying this. I think I am because I'm a minority, but looking at that and looking at what Richie Valenzuela had to do back then, how'd that make you feel as a Latino American? How'd that make you feel watching that? Was it like whatever, it's just what we had to do, or just give me like how does it make you feel when you see that?
It's amazing, really. It's empowering. Like
Okay.
look what it took for him to get to that point. And you got
Okay.
to remember where he came from. He came from the dirt. He was very poor. He was poor, and he became the first Latino rock and roll star.
Hmm. And he was big. I mean, look at it. I tell you what, man. Looking at that movie now, um, I have so much respect for him because just looking at what he had to endure, it kind of reminded me a lot of my experiences, right? So there was, for me watching this film, there was commonality in that. That a lot of what he went through resonated with me, right? So great story, true testament to persistence, like you say, came from humble beginnings, and when I say humble, I mean very the film opens and we see his brother show up, and it's funny at how if you look at the movie and you look at the story arc, their characters kind of go in reverse, right? So when Bob, who's Richie's brother, shows up, he's Bob, he's back, he's fresh out, you know what I mean? He's coming back from jail, yeah, I don't judge men, but handsome guy shows up on the motorcycle, you know what I mean? Everybody's like Bob, and Richie's girl, who he's, kind of, I don't know if they're dating, but there's definitely it feels like there's evidence of a potential courtship. You get what I'm saying? When
You
Bob shows.
know, Bob gets a lot of tell. Like we could say that in this movie.
Ah! Bob Bob does well with the ladies, right?
Bob does
But
do well with the ladies,
yeah,
one way
but
or the other in this
yeah,
movie.
uh, we'll get into that later. But okay,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
it was the '50s, whatever. But so Bob shows up, right? And Richie, I can't think of Richie's girl. I cannot think of her name, but she has this look on her face like she's just spellbound, like it's Bob. And you can tell right away, like just looking at her body language, like, oh, I see where this is going. Right. It feels like, yeah, this is not a good thing. But, there's this dynamic between them where Bob comes back the conquering hero and immediately the next day or the day after says to the mom, look, we're getting out of here, we're moving out of this place. He doesn't say place, but we're moving out of here. We're leaving and we're going to LA or wherever they're going. And initially the mom is like, well, I need clean money, I don't want to use this money. He's like, no, we're leaving, and she reluctantly accepts, and they leave. But in the beginning, it's like Bob is the conquering hero. But as the movie progresses along, it's like Richie becomes that. And
Yeah.
everybody's, kind of celebrating and catapulting Richie and lifting him up. And Bob is kind of left in
He's
this
kind of becoming
reductive
the step
role.
brother instead
Right.
of being the brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know
And
what the
and
sad part is? You know what the
what's
real
that?
sad part is about that? That happens now even today. Like, have you ever noticed when people come out of prison or jail, they're
Hmm.
like, yeah, okay, we're going to be better now. All the time they say that nonsense. I can tell
Yeah.
you.
It's
Like,
hard, man. I mean, because look at what are you going to do if you have a felony? Like your options are reduced by 80%. So, if you
yeah,
come out and you're a felony, you really got to have a plan. And more than likely, you're gonna have to work for yourself. You're gonna have to like if you have any shot of not being a part of what do they call it?
being more in the
Recidivism?
statistic. Is that what you're trying to?
Recidivism? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to work for yourself, or you're gonna have to be aligned with someone that is sympathetic to your plight. Either way, just with me more so, the movie really is about transitioning roles between Richie and Bob, and how Big Brother becomes Little Brother, not in the literal sense, but in the sense of providing for the family, in the sense of respect in the community, in the sense of catapulting the family's name. They switch roles, and there's an interesting dynamic in that. Um, but whatever, we'll get into that. But let's talk about Javi, your thoughts on this first scene and everything that's going on between Richie and Bob. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, it's just like you said earlier, where Bob is actually trying to be the leader of and Richie is actually just like the little brother. He doesn't actually know what he wants to be, what he wants to do. You kind of get that feeling where he has like no direction, where Bob seems to have all the direction.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you can tell they love each other, right? Like there's, even though it is a harbinger of bad news to come, you can see that there is love there. You can see that they're brothers, man. Like first thing they do is run up the hill, and they're brothers. They're wrestling with each other. That's something my brothers and I would do, right? So, well, not now. We're grown men, and we're
I
I'm
mean, you can
rather
still run
large.
up the hill. You just can't
No,
do it as
no,
fast.
I'd probably be like walk up the hill, probably be like climb, contingent upon like how big the hill is. Like I don't know.
Something might start hurting just randomly.
Yeah, yeah. I might pull something. You know what I mean? Like that's I don't know, man. That'd be kind of tough. But I think what's interesting is and just kind of transition. Let's go to the high school when Richie first meets his girlfriend, and he's like, it's so funny. He's like, yeah, they call me High Tone, and I'm like, oh wow, they call me High Tone. It just felt like I don't know. I mean, I get it, right? But what was cool in the 50s is not necessarily cool now. You get what I'm saying? Which I get it. What was
Yeah.
cool in the 80s, the stuff that we said, you know what I mean? Totally tubular. It's
But it's
totally
funny
rad.
now that we're in 2025 and we're talking like that, like the 80s.
Right. Right, right. Yeah. But I mean, it's weird, man. But he's like, they call me High Tone. It's just like, okay, High Tone. It's like, no, my name's really Richie. But right away, he's captivated with her, man. And it's almost like this story has a bit of, I don't want to say Romeo and Juliet, but they never really get to fully
Well,
be
there is hints
together.
of like Romeo and Juliet of like because you got to remember back in those days
Yep.
to date outside of your race
It's a
was
big
very
deal.
taboo. It was
Yeah.
very
Big
taboo.
deal.
People
Big
didn't
deal.
do that,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if
you
they
know.
did, they paid for it. It's
Yeah,
in
yeah.
one way or another, right?
You
But
got blackballed, you got shamed. Like even in like the 90s. Even in the 90s there was like a sense of like blackball and shaming.
yeah,
Even like I can only imagine what biracial children had to go through growing up in like the
and
90s.
and still go through, right? I mean,
Hmm.
even though it is more accepted now, there is, and yeah, let's go there, right? So I had a
Well, I'm not
conversation.
against it. I'll go
No, no,
there.
no, no, no. I'm not. That's not where I'm going. But I
All right.
had a conversation with somebody recently, and it was. I don't want to say it got heated, but it's very passionate, right?
Yeah.
Because my contention was they are whatever they want to be, right? Like if your mom was black and your dad was white, or your mom was Latino and your dad was white, and if you identify with white, then you're white. If you identify with Latino, it's your choice. You get what I'm saying? Now, their
Yeah.
argument was, well, the world sees them as this, so they're this. And I said, I understand that. And I understand conditioning them to see, to deal with how the world will see them, but you can't tell somebody who they are. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though the world, like, there are some biracial kids where one parent is black and one parent is white, and a lot of them you can tell they look black. There are some, however, that can pass for white. My point is, I can't tell you who you are. The world can't tell you who you are. That is your choice, right? And their contention was, well, but if the world's going to see you that way, and if a cop at 2 o'clock in the morning is going to see you and make certain assumptions, then that's who you are. And I said, no, I said, that's who you're perceived as. But anyway, there was this probably turned into like an hour and a half long conversation because their contention was, well, if the world sees you that way, then perception is reality, then that's who you are. And while there's truth to that, nobody can tell you who you are, right? It's like McDonald's sells burgers, but their business is real estate. You know what I'm saying?
Of course it
Their
is.
business is real estate, but they said they've got over 90 billion served. I know, but their business is real estate. So the world may see me, and not that I'm biracial, just walk with me here. The world, the world may see me as a black man, but if secretly, my mom is white, then I could be biracial. Or I could identify as white. Wouldn't that be something? Wow, that'd be funny. But I'm just saying, the world can't tell you who you are. That was my
You got
point.
some secrets.
Well, I don't have that secret, but uh, the world can't tell you who you are. Which is, I don't even know
Yeah.
how we got here, but um, it's
Well,
like
we
they
got there because
never.
I ain't afraid to go there. That's why we got there. Like,
And I love it, Javi. I'm here for it. But
yeah.
I feel like they never really got that full shot to embrace their relationship. They never really got that full shot to be together because there were always these external forces, right? That were pulling against them, like her dad or his schedule or the fact that he had to
or
tour.
he didn't want his daughter to see him, even though that she knew that he's super famous and he's only going to become even more famous.
Right. Right. And again, it's real life, but it just it kind of seemed sad because we never really get to see the arc of their relationship because it never really gets there. You get what I'm
Well, I
saying?
mean, a lot of people lose the point that it was high school. Like I know that when
And
you watch the
and you're right.
movie,
You're right. You're right.
like you have to like remember that Lou Diamond Phillips and Elizabeth Pena and the girlfriend, they're all in high school. I know they're all like 25 when that movie came out. In real life,
But
they're a bunch of 25-year-olds playing 14, 15-year-olds.
you could argue, Javi, that high school back then might be like college now, right? Because people got married a lot younger, right? In the 50s, it was not uncommon for you to get married right out of high school. You
Well, I
get what
mean,
I'm
that's kind of
saying?
what we wanted. Like
Yeah.
sometimes now these days, that's kind of what you want. It doesn't work out like that now.
Yeah, I don't see how you can afford it now unless you already
Mm-mm.
have a trust fund. But uh yeah, I mean it was, again, I just felt like and I know look, reality is reality. You can't rewrite reality, but I hated that we couldn't see that. But in the end, it kind of made for it made the movie better in that when she finds out that he passes in the plane crash, she's mortified, but you can see it wash over her like, oh my God, this really happened, and we never really got to do this. And because they have this conversation the day it was either the day or maybe the day before he got on that plane or whatever. But the last time they
Yeah.
talked, like, we're really going to do this. I really love you. And she says to him, I will never again let anybody come between us. And that's kind of like their pact. And then it's like he dies and you feel so bad for her because you really feel like, wow, she never got her chance. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
she never got her chance.
Of course, of course. So I was telling a couple of people about the story of Richie Valentine. So it was Richard Steven Valenzuela was his name. He had three big hits. It was La Bamba, naturally, because that's what the movie's name. Donna, which is actually his sweetheart's name. And then Come On, Let's Go. And that was another one. And that was like his three big hits. And by the way, he passed away on February 3rd, 1959. He was just 17 years old.
That
He
is so.
also passed away with Buddy Holly and J.P. Richardson, which was actually the Big Bopper. And that
Hmm,
is the day that they called the day the music died.
hmm,
He
hmm.
also ended up in the Hall of Fame of the rock and roll. And they also placed the La Bamba movie in the National Film Registration, which other movies are like Godfather, Star Wars, Citizen Kane, Schindler's List, E.T., Do the Right Thing. These are all just like American movies that just go in there that makes their impact. And what do you think of so what was your actual feeling about the movie now that you actually saw it and it wasn't like on cable?
Hmm. Um, oh man, so much. So the music resonated with me more, and maybe because I'm old. But it just it's like I would tell you something, and we talked about this off camera. But what really stood out to me is when they're talking about making La Bamba, and he's like, I want to sing this in my native language. He doesn't put it that way, okay?
Yeah.
But he's basically like, I want to sing this in my native language. And the exec's like, no, you don't want to do that. And da 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 da, right? And they have this dialogue about it. And so when he goes on, and what was that? The Bopper, what was that show? The
American
Bopper,
Rock Band or something like that.
whatever that show was, that part. When he there's a moment when they call Richie out there and he kind of pauses for a second, like, should I? You know what I mean? It's kind of like that moment when you got the devil on one side and God on the other, and they're like, you should do this and you should do, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And he strums out the first few notes, and then he goes la 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 bamba, and the crowd goes wild. And I loved it because I felt like in that moment he was kind of saying, you know what? Nobody's gonna tell me who I am. I'm Ritchie Valens, damn it. And watch this. Watch this. Yeah, I might have to change my name, but you're not gonna tell me what I can play. Watch this. And I loved it. That moment to me was transcendent because that to me was him kind of taking back his power. That was him kind of taking back his identity, so to speak. You know what I mean? Because it look it, my name's Terry Wilson, but if somebody had, well, no, you're gonna be John Smith, because not that Terry is ethnic. It's really not, but for the sake of this argument, let's say my name was, I don't know, Trevathan, right? And we're gonna change it to John, and I don't know how I'd feel about it, right? So he's got to change his names to Ritchie Valens to fit in, right? To fit into the 1950s American culture, and when he sings La Bamba, this to me is like him saying, "Nah, I'm Ritchie Valenzuela. What up, people? Here I am. Let's go." That to me was what I got from that scene, and I loved it. I loved it. The first time I watched this movie, I completely missed that. I completely missed what was going on. I completely missed the moment. But that for me was, oh man, what a great, that was just a great scene. So I love that. But I also kind of want to get into this Bob and Richie dynamic, man, because as Richie ascends more and more and more, Bob just gets pissed. Now, I tell you what doesn't help. The mom doesn't help matters, because there are little moments in here where she's like, "Oh, Richie, you're so great," and Bob, you're such. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you she kind of added to it, and I'm not saying it's her fault. Look, she didn't make him go to jail. She didn't make him be basically a philandering hound dog. She didn't do any of that. But there's certain moments when you have their sons together where she like really, really puts Richie on this pedestal and really doesn't say much to Bob. Like when Bob wins the art contest and he's like, I won $500, but it's in art supplies. I really felt like in that moment she should have said, but that's okay, Bob. It's great. It's the start. Look, you're going to be great. Like if she would have kind of
oh, let me
given
stop. Let me
him,
stop you there. Let me stop you right there. Like if you know Mexicanas,
uh huh.
they don't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they don't do that.
That's a cultural thing. That's not something they do. They
Yeah,
don't. They don't.
that is just a thing that they're just built weird. Our mothers are just built different. Like,
Okay.
like,
Okay.
they
Okay.
don't do that. That's that. I bet they pulled that from real life instead of
So
putting that in the movie purposely.
let me ask you this: if she would have done it, do you think that may have kind of lessened the jealousy of Bob, or made the, you get what I'm saying? Because when Ricky,
Nah, I don't think that would have probably made it worse.
you
That
think
would have
so?
probably made it worse. Of course, of course. Like imagine doing that in real life to to one of your children. Yeah, you did great. Way to go, boy. I'm
But
so
I'm
glad.
saying, from encouragement, right? Like if
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
say you got a child who has a voice, the voice of angels, right? And they're getting all the breaks in life. And not that Richie, look, I don't know, excuse me, not that Bob, I don't know enough about Bob to say, well, you did your choice and you did that, because look, sometimes you're thrust into situations. Maybe you don't have a choice. I don't know, but I do know that in the moment, if it were me, right? And those are, I probably would have encouraged Bob a little more. Bob, hey, keep working on that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
I
yeah.
felt like in that moment, even though he kind of downplays it, he was looking for that. Not only that, but there's a
Well, the mother
dynamic.
downplayed it. That's really what the worst
Correct.
part is.
Right. And
Yeah.
that made it worse. And not only that, but Bob's father was not really his real father. And so there's that stepbrother dynamic where he really feels like, excuse me for saying this, the redheaded stepchild. Because
Well, I
they
mean,
have
that's what it
conversations.
is.
They have conversations about it. Well, because he always treated you better and blah 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 blah. So there's this dynamic because he kind of blames Richie for it, even though it's not Richie's fault. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want him to do? But he kind of there's kind of this, I don't want to say angst, but there's this resentment from Bob that feels like, well, Richie, you had everything given to you, and this and that and this and that. And it comes out in the fight that they have.
Yeah, but you also got to
Um,
remember this, though. Richie was very welcoming to everybody
right,
throughout that whole movie. Throughout that
right,
whole movie,
right.
you know, Bob was Bob was a fool.
Well, Bob went to jail, which is not the most welcoming place, right? So and again, I don't know the conditions as to how he went to jail. I don't know the
Yeah.
story. So maybe he deserved it. I don't know. I don't know. But I know that the version of Bob that we see is coming from jail in a place where you kind of have to be guarded, right? Not that I've been there. I don't know. I'm just saying, from everything that I've seen,
Yeah.
it's not a welcoming place, right? It's not a place where you can be like, sure, brother, I trust you. I don't think you need to do that. So his attitude kind of reflects his experience. Now he is a bit of a jerk. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Bob is a jerk. But you show up on the scene, and the first thing you do is to sleep with your brother's girl. And then when your brother calls you on it, you're like, "Oh, did you guys have something?" Knowing full well you knew. Okay, so Bob is a bit of a jerk, but a lot of it is driven from jealousy, right? But again, in Bob's own weird way, he does love Richie because he's always saying he takes him to Mexico to get him to have an experience with a woman. I don't know your audience, a certain thing I don't want to say,
We took
but
him to Mexico to try and get laid.
yeah, there you go. Okay, you said it, I didn't,
You can just
right?
say it. Don't even worry about it.
Right.
Just say it if you're gonna say it. Like,
You know, but and Richie being Richie, Richie's like, nah, I don't want to do that. It's cool. But he ends up waking up and this snake charmer, can we call him a snake charmer? I don't know.
it was something,
Guy,
something, a wild night and just woke up in the morning.
yeah, yeah. And he gives him this talisman, right? And the talisman is supposed to protect him. Now, again, I don't know if that was like for the movie or if that fight really happened and that talisman was ripped from his from his chest or whatever, but in that exchange, and as soon as he ripped that talisman from his neck, I'm saying, oh God, Bob's going to wear this for the rest of his life because he's going to blame himself for that plane going down, for that fight that they had, and the fact that like Bob will never get over
Yeah.
that.
Well, you got to
Um,
remember, like what, like, do you really want like the last moments of you spending with somebody to be fighting and arguing?
no,
Yeah, that's people have to live with that forever.
yeah. Well, I like the conversation that they have before he gets on the plane because I kind of feel like that was God's way of saying, I'm gonna leave you something, Bob. I'm not just gonna laugh that be the last interaction, right? And he's like, well, hey, man, hey, I was thinking maybe you could come on the tour with him. And he's like, yeah. And he was like, well, you always got me. I'm your brother. I'm always gonna be here. And I thought that was an endearing moment. But just man, when he finds out that Richie passes, and shout out to Esai Morales, great performance. Not good, great performance. I think this performance really, I've seen him in some other movies, but this performance really put him on the map.
Yeah,
Really
I
put
mean
him.
that put everybody on the map on this one
Yeah.
movie.
Well, I mean, definitely the Lou Diamond Phillips, but Esai as well. Like they both were great in this film. But just man, when again, seeing this at 16 and seeing it now, I felt so bad for Bob. I remember when I saw it at 16, I was like, I hate that guy. Gosh, he's an asshole. I hate that guy. But seeing it as an adult, I really felt bad for him. Because even though Bob is misguided in a lot of ways, make no mistake about it, Bob loves his brother. Bob loved Richie. And Richie loved Bob. And I just, it was just sad to me. But
Well, Terry, I wanted to sit here and ask you about some of the best scenes. One of my favorite ones that I could actually, so one of my pet peeves of the movie, and it's throughout the movie, is like all the flashbacks that they got, like all these like nightmare scenes
yeah,
of
with
Richie
the
and the plane
plane.
crash. I could have
Yeah,
kind of lived without.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think they were trying to drive home the point of his fear and the fact that his death was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I agree. They one or two scenes max would have sufficed as opposed to the four or five that we got with it. But maybe that I wonder if that really was a recurring theme, like if he had that dream that often and how often he had it. I know his sister was a technician with the movie. Do you know if she's made any commentary that says, yeah, he had this dream once a week, or is it?
No, like I would have to sit there. Like I was watching some of the commentary, and they didn't really say anything like that. I think that's just like added drama into the movie. Like if we would have just got the plane crash scene at the beginning of the movie to get you right then and there, to get you
Yeah,
hooked, we would
yeah,
have been pretty good.
yeah.
But we got it, what, like two, three, four times,
We
some
got it a
amount of
lot.
him.
We got it
Yeah,
a
like
lot. Yeah, yeah. We definitely got it a lot. But I mean, as a person who has a devout fear of flying, I can kind of halfway relate, right? So like the last flight I was on, my best friend and I went to see another one of our best friends. This was in college. We went to FAMU to see him, and we took a flight down there. And the flight back was so bad. It was so much turbulence that literally, Javi, when I got back, I kissed the ground, and I was like, I will never get on. I will never get on another, and I haven't, right? So I have an extreme fear of flying a plane. And the only thing I can equate this to, have you ever seen the show The A-Team? Not the movie, but the show The A-Team.
yeah, I remember the show, the
All right.
18.
So you remember BA didn't want to fly. They used to have to knock him out to get him on a plane.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what you like. You'd have to give me so much Vicodin. Like you'd have to knock me out. Because if I'm conscious and on that plane, it's gonna be a bad day for everybody. So, because my fear is I have a fear of it. I'm not gonna lie. So I can kind of relate to him being apathetic about it. Well, I can't relate to the point that he did because his best friend basically died because of falling parts from a plane that fell on him, and his whole thing was, well, if I'd have been there that day, I would have died. So I could see that. But my point is that I to a certain extent I can understand because I do have a fear of flying. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody tells you they saw T Will in California, he drove, Javi. I'm just saying he drove. Or he rode the train, or he rode the bus. But you know what he didn't do, Javi? He didn't fly. Okay. Yes, I'm speaking to myself in third person. Anyway, whatever.
All right.
Um, let's talk about when Richie goes to he meets a fellow musician and he invites him for the tryout, and he goes to this guy's garage and tries out for the band, and the lead singer is an asshole, right? And Richie, starts to play or whatever, and Richie kills it, and you could just see on his face like this dude is just oozing with jealousy. And so their first performance, oh my God, I hated this guy. He was like, Charlena. And he was singing the song, and I'm like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
you suck.
It's so bad.
I hate you. You suck. And they don't let Richie sing. And so the entire time, Richie's there like, And Richie's sister's like, why don't they let Richie play? And she's like, I don't know. And then Richie gets in the car and she's like, I want you to know my grandfather was full blood Cherokee, and we don't take that. Man pulls off. Um, that guy was such a jerk, man. But it's interesting because it feels like there's always a guy like that in the way that's trying to stop somebody that's trying to move forward. You get what I'm saying?
Well, there's
Um,
always been people like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I hated that guy. Charlena. He couldn't sing. He was
He couldn't sing
terrible.
it. He was just like,
He could not
Charlie, no.
sing. But he that actor was also in Blood In, Blood Out. I remember him from Blood In, Blood Out. I don't know what role he played. He was in one of the prison gangs, but I remember him because I think he's the one that ended up turning on them. Anyway, getting way ahead of ourselves. So, um, I hated that guy. Richie was such a he was such a talent, but he was so you couldn't help but love him. You know what I mean? You could not because he wasn't really negative. He wasn't, or at least he's not portrayed that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had
He-
that innocence. He still
right
had
there
that
you go.
innocence throughout
There
the
you
whole
go.
movie.
There you go. There you go. Yeah,
He's always
definitely.
and then remember when they were in the recording session? They were doing a recording
Yep.
session, and you actually had Bob, the other Bob, the white Bob,
Yeah.
and he was like, "We're gonna record this as many times as we have to get it right." And then he tells them exactly how he wants it, and there's just that little bit of difference between it, and they're just
And they must have did that like they did that all day, which and from what I'm told, it's kind of like that in real life. Like you kind of have to, well, maybe not as much now as they have different
yeah.
equipment. It's I mean they pretty much had to work on it until they got it right. But yeah, that was interesting. Just the dynamic between the initial lead singer, and then when Richie finally is like, well, it's either me or him, or some no, the other guy's like, it's me or him, and they're like, okay, we'll go with Richie. Cause and it's funny because
Yeah.
it's like the talent is always gonna win out, right? Like and it lets you know like how some people are not self-aware. You get what I'm saying? It's like
Hmm.
people like, oh, this is my little fiefdom, this is my little turf or whatever, this is my band. But obviously you couldn't read the room because Richie was the talent. Like if he'd have been smart, he'd have been like, okay, Richie, sure, you can sing whatever. Because I think the band would have lasted longer, and maybe, I know he ultimately didn't take them with them, but I just think he would have benefited more from being affiliated with them initially down the line somewhere in music, as opposed to taking the stance. Well, it's either me or him, because even when he says it, I'm like, okay, they're going with Richie. Like it's
Of course they're
why
gonna go
wouldn't
with you. So what else do you want?
why wouldn't you, right? It's
Why do you even
so
ask that question?
exactly. Exactly. But well, because you're not self-aware, right? Because in your mind, you really think that you are as talented as this guy, which lets me know like this is all ego for you, right? Like you're not even making the best decision for the band. This is all ego. Like this is your Super Bowl. Like you see this as, oh, this is my chance, and bro, you don't have a shot. So whatever. Um, let's talk about the dynamic between Donna and Richie. And just, you know, it's funny because when and it's not her fault, but a lot of times I put myself in these positions, and like when he called her and she was like, "Well, I can't go or I can't whatever," I was thinking to myself, "Okay, I'd be done with you." Like that was me, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, I would be so done with you, right? Which maybe I wouldn't, because this is 55-year-old Terry. This isn't 16-year-old lovesick puppy dog, T Will. But I was just thinking in that moment, I would have been so done with you. Like I did all of this, you know what I mean? And basically, he never cheats on her. Well, at least not in the movies. We don't know what happened
Yeah.
in real life, but in the way it's portrayed, like he has ample opportunity, and he never does, right? And so I be thinking to myself, if I went through all of that and denied myself, and you go, okay, all right, buddy. Well,
Can you
sorry
imagine how Richie feels after that? Like it's like I made a song with your name on it
for you.
for
Right.
you. I signed a record studio contract. I am on national television. I'm on national radio. Like, what do you not get? Like
I'd be
that
pissed.
I am the prize. Like,
I'd be, you know what? I'd be pissed. I
you
don't know
know,
that I would think of well, maybe I would. I'm I may, but I would, at a minimum, I'd be thinking, hey, man, look, I didn't do any of this. I'm always reaching out to you, and you're gonna do, okay, what? Like, I would, probably what I would have done, I would have showed up in that car and ignored the hell out of Donna. You know what I mean? I'd have been like, oh, now you want me. Oh, okay. Back then you didn't want me. Now I'm out, y'all on me. No, I'm good. I'm good. Even though that was like 30, 50 years later, but whatever.
that vagina must be gold. That's all I gotta say. It must
Wow.
be solid
But it
gold.
was the 50s. We don't know. We don't even know that he's ventured into that, right? You know what I mean? Like it was the 50s. Like that was, I think people still had sex, but they didn't talk about it. But we
I'm
don't
sure
know
they
that.
did. I'm sure they did.
I'm sure they did, but we don't know that Richie and Donna went there, right? I don't know. But I do know that yeah, I probably would I wouldn't have handled it the way Richie did. Like Richie was always there for her and
I mean,
never
believe it or
gave.
not, he was being very respectful.
Oh,
That's
without a
that's
doubt.
like, like if you look at it now, we would never be doing that in that sense. We would just be
I mean,
like
I
next.
would have just moved on. Like I would have been like, okay, Donna,
Yeah.
well, cool. You know what I mean? I would have, man. But whatever. I mean, these things happen. I thought that was interesting, but I really liked the last interaction they had where she's like, you know what? I'm never gonna let anybody come between us. And I think that's a character arc for her, and that she develops to the point to where, look, my parents they're not gonna rule my life. They're not gonna determine what I do. You know what I mean? That's a character arc for her. At least. So let's talk about the character arcs, man. What do you think? Give me Bob's character arc in your mind's eye. Like
I mean, when we watched that, we really are watching like the downfall of the main character, or at least what he thought was the main character in the beginning.
yeah, yeah,
The man really was just like, oh, was just the negative part of Richie's life. It's really what he was.
yeah.
And plus, he was a horn dog. Like it just seemed like
He was.
every
Yeah,
other
he
scene, he was
was.
trying to have sex. Like,
He, he was trying to make up for lost time. I don't know.
that's what it
Maybe
was. He
you
had
know what
that
I
prison
mean. Maybe,
anger. That's what it
yeah,
was. He had
maybe
that
he was.
prison revenge sex going on.
I don't know. Bro, I don't know. But I know he was trying to make up for lost time, man. But it's unfortunate because I watching this movie again, you really get the sense that he really does love Richie. I mean, you at least from it now that I've gotten a little older and can see, I can separate Bob's issues from Bob, right? I can separate Bob's jealousy from Bob and still see that, look, you took him to Mexico because you loved him, because you really felt like, for lack of a better term, he really needed to sow his royal oats. He really needed to get laid. You saw that he was
Yeah.
upset because he was in love with Donna. You don't
Donna wasn't
want him
giving
to
it
be.
up, you know.
You don't want him to be this lovesick puppy. So that was out of love. You took him to this shaman, for lack of a better term, because he had this thing. Like you can see that Bob loves him, right? Even though he was negative, there's a difference between having somebody that's negative in your life that has no regard for you, right?
Yeah.
And some of those people still share your blood, because I got some of them folks that, yeah, we share blood, but if I drop dead tomorrow, they're not coming, and their life isn't going to change one bit. You get what I'm saying?
Of
Bob
course,
was
of
not
course.
that guy. Bob had a genuine love for Richie. Bob was just toxic.
He
That's
was
where
like he was a drunk and he really was spiraling out of control. But you know what? Throughout the movie, he did end up facing his demons. Like I
Yeah,
could say that. He did end up
yeah,
facing his demons.
yeah, yeah. And it's sad because the night that they have the party for Richie and Bob he's over it. He's just like,
Bob does what
no,
Bob does.
no, he really went in there. He was like, I'm so sick of this guy. Da 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 da. And he comes in there and he's like, we're gonna have a talk. And Dad always treated you better. And da 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 da.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
really, I think he's angry with his dad because he found out later in life that his dad wasn't really his dad, and he's never dealt with it. Because again, this is the 50s. Nobody went to therapy back then.
yeah. I don't even think therapy existed back then like that.
Right. Nobody
You
so
know?
he's carrying the weight of this and he doesn't know what to do with it. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's like there's this demon on his shoulder that's always reminding him, oh, he's not your dad. He's not your dad. He loved Richie better than you. He loved Richie better than you. And the mom kind of reinforces it in her tone, in the way that she doles out her praise, right? Like, oh, Richie, you're great. And oh yeah, Bob, you're okay. Like that doesn't help when you already have an issue with it, right? When you're already insecure, that doesn't help it. That's why I
yeah.
say, like, and I'll give you an example, and not to go biblical, but I'm gonna go biblical. My mother was a pastor coming up, so she would give me these, and I know them all. She would give me these records, young people, records like this little disc that you would put on a record player that you would put the needle on and play. They're records. This is for
Yeah, we brought those
our,
back in
our younger
2025.
audience, our younger audience. So
You mean
I'd have
vinyl?
say what?
You mean vinyl?
Vinyl. There you go.
That's
Vinyl.
what that is.
Vinyl. So, they were these little Bible stories. And I would always listen to the story of Joseph and his coat of many colors and think his brothers were terrible. They were just mean people. Like, why would they do that? And then I got older and I read the story of Esau and Jacob in the Bible. And I forget what it's called, but either way, um, Jacob stole Esau's blessing or whatever, ran for it because back then when the father died, the oldest child got their blessing. It was a rite of passage to go and do whatever they wanted to do for the family or whatever. And the mother, favoring Jacob, had him to dress up like Esau and whatever and steal his blessing. And once it was done, it was done. There was no, there was an agreement. There was nothing you could do. So Jacob fled, and on his way to wherever he was going, he had this encounter with what we would call the Holy Spirit. Anyway, whatever. The Holy Spirit breaks his hip, whatever. But let's get to the point. Jacob leaves, and Jacob goes to stay with his uncle. And his uncle has two daughters, but Jacob falls in love with the youngest daughter, right? I promise you, there's a point to where I'm
Yeah,
going.
yeah. No, I'm listening.
Uh, Jacob falls in love with the younger daughter. So the uncle, seeing this, and this is why you don't mess people over, because this is where Jacob kind of gets his comeuppance. The uncle says, well, I tell you what, if you work for me for 7 years, I'll let you marry my daughter. And so Jacob does this. He works for him for 7 years. And when he says, okay, now I'm ready to marry your daughter, he's like, not that one. You're going to marry the oldest one. If you want to marry that one, you got to work for me for another 7 years, right? So he does this. But in doing this, he really only loves the younger daughter. He married the older one, but he doesn't love her. So when he introduces his kids, he's got the set of kids that he had by the first wife, where he's like, oh, yeah, these are my kids and they're so and so. But this is Joseph and Ben, and this is my wife, so and so. And there's this difference that he shows between them, right? And think about it. If you grow up and every time your dad speaks of you, he's like, well, this is my son, Manuel. But this is my other son, Javi. And Javi's great. And Javi does it. Manuel's going to hate you. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear that every day of your life, or every time your father does a comparison. If he's always building you up and Manuel always gets the short end of the stick. I can totally see Manuel saying, after you brag about how you had this dream of coat of many colors, you know what? I'm about to drop Javi's ass down this hole. And we're gonna like I could see that, right? But who created that? Well, your dad created that by the way he treated you. And I'm doing that to draw the parallel in the way Richie's mom talks to them and just how she administers her praise. Now, is it totally her fault? No. Bob's Bob, right?
Bob does
But
Bob things.
Bob does Bob stuff, right? But she doesn't help it. It is my point, right? Like going back and watching that, you know what I mean? It's like because there are a couple of moments where I'm like, dude, throw Bob a bone here. He needs it. Throw
Well,
Bob a
Bob
bone.
doesn't get a bone. Bob has his own bone, and he does everything with that bone. Like, that's the problem. We're like
Good.
Bob has
That's
plenty of
good,
bones,
Javi. That's
and
good.
he does
That's
lots of things
good.
with that bone.
Oh my
You know,
goodness.
even Rosie even built up. Even Rosie left Bob.
Well, and
You know,
Rosie
it
should
took.
have left Bob. Bob was a shitty husband.
He
Well,
was.
no, they never got married, right?
You
So
know, they
wait,
never
did
got
they get
married.
married? Yeah,
And then
Bob was a shitty
even when
boyfriend.
she told Bob, "Hey, I'm pregnant,"
Yeah.
Bob was like, what was he doing? Like, "Hey, am I the baby daddy?" Or whatever it
Oh,
is,
and
or
he was
some
like, "Well, it's
craziness
not."
he was
No, what did
doing.
he say? That no, 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 no. This is what he says. Well, you're not the first, and you won't be the last. Remember that? I was like,
I
"Oh
remember
God,
that.
oh
He was
God."
doing some craziness.
That's why she threw that object at him. Like, because that's foul. That's almost as bad as saying, "Is it mine?" Like that's about
Yeah.
that's about one of the three worst things you can say to a woman. One of the okay, so the worst thing you can say to a woman is it mine when she tells you she's pregnant. The other worst thing that you can say to a woman is a proposal. And I forget what movie it's from, but oh my God, it makes me laugh every time I hear it. So this guy literally proposed by saying, all right, you win. Which I thought was, oh my God, like as a guy, that's funny. But as a woman, oh my God, she's gonna hate you. Like
I bet any woman that's to hear that would be completely pissed.
bro, I forget it was with oh God, he was on NCIS Los Angeles for the longest time. Chris, whatever his
O'Donnell?
name. Yeah. It was in a movie with him where I think his dad tells him he has to get married or he doesn't get this fortune. But his proposal was literally, all right, you win. And dude, the way he delivers it, every time I even think about that, I laugh because I can just imagine every woman in America going, you asshole. Like I did, you want to piss a woman off? That's got to be top three on the list. That one. And
Oh,
then there's
God.
what Bob says, which is, and I quote, well, you're not the first, honey, and you're definitely not going to be the last. So, you know what I mean? And when he says
Yeah.
that, bro, I'm not going to lie. I stopped the movie like, I know he didn't. Did he say that? Like, did he? He didn't say that. I'm tripping. Did I? It's almost like a Friday moment where Ice Cube's like, did that dog bark? Like, did I? He didn't say, and I rewound it. I was like, damn, he did say that. So Bob was I mean, it was the 50s. He was a bit of a misogynist, but he was Bob's Bob, man. Bob's Bob. But that quote, bro. Yeah, she had a right to leave him. You know what I mean?
She
Like
did.
that,
She
bro.
did.
I mean, you clearly don't care about her if you're like, well, you're not the first. Think
Have
about
her,
that for
like,
a second. I'm surprised she didn't smack him. Like I like that. Like
I mean, she threw something out.
yeah, but if if I'd have said that to my wife, I think all of these teeth would be fake. Because I just like I can't imagine that go, honey, I'm pregnant. Well, Kim, you're not the first. And you're not gonna be the last, baby. This is the T Will tray. Well, like I can't see that, bro. Like that's oh man, Bob was Bob, man. Bob was Bob. Let's talk about the interaction that they have when Richie comes home. I guess he's about to go on tour or whatever. And he buys his mom the coat, and Bob is in rare form. And Bob is just so agitated, and he says to Ritchie, "Well, you got all the money. Why don't you do this?" Or whatever. He's on one that night because his jealousy has gotten to the point to where he just doesn't know what to do with it, and he's frustrated. Um, and again, at this point, they've completely switched roles, right? So in the beginning, it was Bob coming home, the conquering hero. He got them out of the place where they were picking fruit to survive. They took that money and got into a place, and now they're in another house, a better house that Ritchie has purchased from the fruits of his labor. And Bob just feels useless. He feels inadequate. He feels like, this is my little brother. I should be doing this, and he's doing my job. That's a lot. There's so much going on, right? There's that. Then there's the fact that he's also probably out of jail. It's tough for him, and he's thinking, well, if my dad had treated me better, you know what I mean? And not that this is the case, but I'm trying to get into the mind of Bob here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, if my dad had treated me better, Javi, then I probably could buy us a house too. It's jealousy, but it's also his identity issue because Bob feels like I'm the older brother. It's my job to provide. It's my job to take care of us. And now Richie's doing it. The little shit that I used to take care of, the little shit that used to run behind me and basically worship me is now doing my job. So there's a lot going on. Talk about that dynamic and let's talk about that scene and just give me your thoughts on it.
I mean, really, what is there to talk about on some of this stuff? Like the man is, he just got out of prison. Like he probably thinks he's an alpha. He probably thinks he's the leader, the family man. And then you see your little brother taking over. Like that happens in real life. A lot of people can relate to something like that.
So let's talk about that. In real life, have you seen that happen? Like I again, I'm not making excuses for Bob, but I understand where he's coming from having watched this whole thing play out, right? I'm not excusing it. I'm not advocating for his behavior because Bob's a bit of a jerk. But
Yeah.
I understand where he's coming from the perspective of, well, now up is down. Because Richie's doing the whole show. Richie's doing everything. And what's my purpose here, right? Um, but real life is different. So seeing that playing out like in real life, in your experiences, does that get better? What have you seen that dynamic play out? Like
Well,
what's typically
realistically in my life, it gets worse because
okay.
I'm the only one in my family that went to school. I'm the only one in my family that got a degree. I'm the only one that's like has a career and looking at
Okay.
retirement and a second career. Everybody else is just everybody's trying to. So I have a really bad saying that I use to insult my family from time to time, where
Mm-hmm.
everybody's trying to get out of the ghetto and they're the only ones trying to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Oh,
that's
they,
that's
they also
really the truth. That's really
they
the
started.
truth.
Okay. Okay.
That
Wow.
that's the sad truth.
You
Like,
said a mouthful there, man. You said a
I mean,
mouth.
it's you see these people, and they're some of them. Hey, so I wanted to ask you about the ending of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sad part of the movie
Yeah. Yeah, man.
is when you know that Richie was going to die.
Yeah. 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 It's what's sad is like as he flips the coin, and you know what's sad? I know how the story ends, but I'm like, no, Richie, no, don't do it. And he does it. It's like, ah, damn. It's like,
Ah,
don't do it, Richie. Just don't get on the plane. But he does it. What's interesting is so Bob hears about his brother's passing on the radio, and he immediately thinks about his mom. And he runs to her. And when she finds out, she looks at him and she's like, not my Richie, not my Richie. And I was praying to God she doesn't say, it should have been you, Bob, because it just felt like
Bro, can you
that
imagine
was
if they did
coming.
that? Like, you should
It,
have been on that plane, son.
it felt like that was in the chamber. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah,
the way she looked at him when she says, "Not my Richie," because she says it a bunch of times. But what she doesn't, what it feels like is in the chamber is it should have been you, Bob. It should have been you. Damn it. You know what I mean? And she never
like the
says it.
wrong son died
Right.
that day.
And and thank God she doesn't, but it felt like that was in the chamber. At least for me. Give me your thoughts on that scene, because maybe I'm reading too much into it, but did it feel like that to you? Like that was what she
No,
was
but you know
thinking?
what it was? It was like it was a very heartbreaking scene. It was
Oh yeah, without a
like
doubt.
you know the story, you know what happens. It's just when you get this movie and you know when the movie comes to an end and you get to that scene with the airplane and what they were flipping a coin, right? That's what that was led
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
last seat on the airplane
yeah.
was the coin flip. And then you think about what if Richie would have like lost the coin flip, he would still be alive probably today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and then imagine Donna. Can you remember when Donna? Everybody heard on the radio.
yeah.
Everybody heard his passing
What
on
the
the
hell was
radio.
she doing? Like, what was she doing that she didn't hear? Oh no, she was in school, right? She was in
No,
class.
I think she was working.
Oh, okay. No,
I think
she
she was.
finds about it. She finds out about it at school.
Yeah, was it school or was it the mother found out at work?
I get. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was the mom that found out, but I know Donna was at school because her friends tell her in the cafeteria that you need to sit down, and she's like, "What? What?" And so she finds out at school,
Yeah,
right? But I don't know. I don't know how she didn't hear about it, but I mean, whatever. It is what it is. But it was it's just truly sad, man. Sad from the perspective of it was like, the Capulets and whatever Romeo's whatever Juliet's last name was. No, her name was Capulet. The Montagues. It was like the Montagues and the Capulets in that she never got, which is a Shakespeare reference, but they never got the opportunity to play out their romance the way it should have played out. You know what I mean? Just because of external forces. And you really see that uh on her face, when she finds out like, oh God, this is terrible, but we she probably thought about it for the rest of her life. I'm sure, you know, I don't know if Richie was the one that got away, but it literally feels like Richie's the one that got away, right?
of
So
course it's the one that got away. How
yeah.
how else
Um
would you like? How
I
else
don't
would you
know, man.
explain it?
I I don't know, but it just
So
it was
like,
it was it was sad, man. It was truly sad. Just the look on his mom's face when she's like, "Not my Richie, not my Richie," and
and
yeah,
then
man,
Bob, out of all people, was there to comfort the
yeah.
mother.
Again, I think Bob is just misguided. Like Bob is not one of those psychos that like kills 38. I don't know, maybe he was. I don't know what he did to go to jail, but I think Bob has a heart. Bob is selfish and Bob is misguided, but Bob loves his mom and Bob loves his brother. He may not necessarily love Rosie, but he did love his mom and he did love his brother. And because the first thing he thinks about is his mom. Like as soon as he hears about it,
Yeah,
he's like, my mom. And he goes to comfort her. But that shows you that he does love his mom. He's just one of those. He's toxic, but it doesn't look. Toxic people have feelings too. You know what I mean? Like they love, they hate, they have feelings. He just has this toxic ether that just kind of permeates throughout the ethos. But he still loves his mom, right? So anyway,
of
whatever.
course, of course.
Um, yeah, I don't know, man, but truly sad. Um, Even though I knew it was coming, it was still truly sad. Like that's how you know a movie's really good. Like when you know the ending is coming, but at the end of the film, you still feel the impact. They've done a great job,
Yeah,
right? It's not like you didn't know what happened. It's
yeah.
a
Like you didn't know what the end game was.
right, right.
Like the minute you saw the airplane, you were just kind of you put two to two together.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean it's a period piece, so you kind and it actually happened, so you know what's coming, but you still feel the impact. You feel the impact of the mother, and when Bob, the ending was perfect. When Bob screams out Richie at the end, like you feel it, like that. I felt that. I felt that in my soul. I felt that go through because I know the guilt is eating him up. That guilt is kicking his butt day and night. You know the fight they had. You know he accidentally ripped his brother's talisman, and you know he blames himself. Nobody has to beat up Bob because Bob's doing a great job of that himself. And you feel all of that in that primal scream at the end. And I think, although it was sad and a bit excruciating, it was a perfect way to end that movie because that's what it was. You know what I mean?
Because at the end
So,
you were gonna get a sad scene anyways.
yeah. But I
You
mean, just go ahead. Sorry.
like at the end you were still gonna end up with the funeral. You were still gonna get the whole works at the end,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. But, great movie, man. Great movie. Really enjoyed it. You know, it's funny. There's a saying that says, "In youth we learn, but with age we understand." And I can definitely apply that to this movie because my impression of this movie at 55 is 100% different than it was at 16. I saw the movie at 16 and it was pretty good, but it wasn't anything like I was like, it was pretty good. But going back looking at it now, being an adult, having gone through some of these scenarios, being able to reflect upon them, I thought it was excellent. I thought it was great. There were because it had everything. It had moments that made you stand up and cheer, like when he sings La Bamba at that event. I was proud. Like I was like, yeah, Richie, let him hang. Excuse me for saying that, but that's how I felt in the moment. Like hell yeah, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And then at the end, it was sad. It was very sad. So and there were a few comic pieces. Like I'm ashamed to admit this, and I hope my wife is not watching this. But when he says, "You're not the first and you're not the last," like that was kind of funny to me. It wasn't funny, but it was funny in the standpoint of I was like, "Oh, she's gonna kill him." Like, there's a
Like
worst thing. That's one of the
it's
worst
funny
things you
because
could
that's
ever
probably
say.
something that men have wanted to say to women, and he just up and says it.
I'm not saying that. I'm not, but it was, I don't know why it was funny. It was funny because I knew when he said that, I was like, oh, she's going to kick your ass. That was my first thought because I'd forgotten what happened, right? But when he says that to her, I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna kill you. And she throws that thing. But this movie had everything. It had moments that made you laugh, it had moments that made you sad, and it had moments that made you stand up and cheer, man. So, if I gotta give this a rating of 1 out of 10, I'm gonna give it a 9. Because I do think that they did the whole plane scene to death. So I had to take off because of that. But I mean, other than that, I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. Javi, what's your rating of it?
I'll give it a 9 too. Like I was also in the same boat. We could have probably did with like one flashback
Yeah,
or one nightmare scene of the airplane. But
yeah,
other than that, the movie was a good sit down. You can just actually sit there and enjoy it. Like it's really good to sit there and watch a movie without commercials. Like I think
yeah,
that's one of the things. Like you get to see everything. You get to see all of it. And by the way,
yeah.
for a lot of people who are asking, or they may not be asking, but they're asking, the musicians was actually Carlos Santana and Los Lobos
Yep,
were actually the musicians for the movie.
yep, yep. And they did a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. Uh, La Bamba, when you hear that song, it's magic. Or to me, ever since I've gone back and watched that movie, like that song is magical to me because of what he had to go through. And not only that, because of what it represents. You get what I'm saying? So like I have a newfound respect and appreciation for that song. And not that it wasn't a great song already, but just knowing the story behind it, I freaking love it. Because like I say, that had to be my favorite scene in the movie. And Lou Diamond Phillips does a great job of playing it so well because it's subtle. Like, unless you're looking for it, you're not going to catch on that he's got a little bit of trepidation in that moment. Like, should I? I don't know. I mean, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, you literally see him in his mind go through, you know what? F it. Yeah, man, let's go. Let's do it. And then he completely goes into it and la 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 Bamba and just the energy coming out and permeating through the speaker. I'm like, man, let's go. Like I remember, dude. Because I watch a lot of movies from this seat because I can,
Yeah.
especially if I'm going to podcast on it, I can take my notes and do it all in one sitting. But I'm watching it, but it was all I could do to keep from standing up because I'm like, I understood it. I truly understood what he's thinking in that moment. And the courage that it took to do that, because you gotta have a set of stones to do that. Okay. You're talking about going back 70 plus years in the 50s where, it was a crime to have a name like Venezuela, let alone sing a song in Spanish lyrics. Like that took a set of stones, right? So I appreciate that moment and what it led up to do that. And it made me fall in love with the song even more. But Javi, I've talked way too much, man. Give me your thoughts specifically on that scene and in that moment. Like, what are you, as a Latino American man, what are you thinking in that moment?
I'm thinking very proud. Like you got to be proud. You got to be excited for that moment.
Yeah,
Like just think of all the other things that we do in life that we actually don't even give credit. The director himself, Luis Valdez, did an amazing job at that movie.
yeah,
He really did.
yeah. Right.
But yeah, thank you for coming on.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. This was fun. We got to do more of this, Javi. I really enjoyed this, dude. This is a great movie. I'm so glad you recommended it. And hey, man, looking forward to the next time when we can do this again. Thank you
We will.
so much
We'll
for
do it
having
another
me.
week or two. We'll get take
Love it.
care.
Love it. Love it. All right. Good deal,
All
man.
right.